Okay. All right. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? I see Cheryl typing. Hopefully, yes. And Anita, thank you, Polly. All right. So again, welcome to the Office of Educator Effectiveness and Leadership Development's virtual office hours. Again, I am Faye Colley, the regional adept support for the upstate. With me today are Lila Tolman-Sagar, our director, Dr. Vicky Traufler, our PADEP coordinator, and our other regional adept support, namely Dr. Howard, Dr. Hartwell, Beverly Flythe, and Rodney Evans. We are so glad you could make it today. Our focus for today's presentation is creating your 2019-2020 District Expanded ADEPT Implementation Plan. Before we dig into the details of how to create your ADEPT plans, please locate the chat box on your far right-hand side, then type in your name, district, and the word new or veteran to indicate if you're a new or veteran ADEPT coordinator. If there are multiple persons with you in the room, type their names and positions in the chat box too. Throughout the webinar, please use the chat to share your reactions and to pose questions to your colleagues in the virtual room. We have time built in to address your questions or reactions. We will respond to as many as we can, and if we run out of time, we will follow up with you via email or call. So to further orient you with the controls, let's go over what you see on your screen. On the top gray menu on the right, there's a person with a hand raised. You can use the options below to update your status, to give the speaker feedback on volume, pace, or content. On the top gray menu on the left, you will find the icons for speaker and microphone. Make sure that your speaker is green so you can hear us. We request that you keep your microphone on mute to eliminate background noise. All right, so this is our agenda for this afternoon. As I mentioned, today's presentation will be focused on creating your 2019-2020 District Expanded ADEPT Implementation Plan. We've already done our introductions. In a little bit, we will share reminders and later show you step-by-step how to fill our Expanded ADEPT Plan template. And of course, there will be time for Q&A. As a reminder, this year an extension was granted to submit your District Expanded ADEPT Implementation Plan on June 1, 2019. Sorry for that. We're fixing our noise, our echo. All right, hopefully that gave you some time to make sure that you have introduced yourself in the chat box. But going back to our reminders, as you see on this slide, again, June 1st is our deadline for this year for your plans. Also, note that there is no intention to alter the guidelines in the 2019-2020 year. So we have already published the guidelines, as you remembered, on April 2018. So please be reminded that our office will present an ADEPT plan summary to the state board in the fall, saying that this summary will actually identify the trends and processes as reported in the plans. So it is critical that we meet deadlines in getting plans submitted. So lastly, as a reminder, we want you to know the process for submission. So ensure that reports are completed, you upload your ADEPT plan in SCLEAD.org, you attach your calendar, and once you have submitted those, Expect for a follow-up from your ADEPT regional coordinator, regional support. You will have to revise your plan as necessary. And once your plan is approved, you will have to sign your assurance. So great news with ADEPT guidelines 2019-2020. There's areas of flexibility. Of course, with the scoring approach, you can have a choice by contract level, and you can have a choice whether you want it to be average or consensus. You will type that in your plan in SULEAD.org. Another area of flexibility is with regards to meetings. You can integrate your preliminary, mid, and summative SLO conferences in your pre and post observation conferences. Another area of flexibility is with regards your administrative designee. So just note that this is not limited to the AP, but you have to ensure that the person is a certified evaluator. The credential to evaluate must match the type of evaluation the designee is assigned to observe. For induction teachers, induction areas of focus can be integrated with identified refinement. With regards SLO, you have the option to have that done by educators during the second semester so that you can provide additional support and guidance to teachers in the first semester on how to create the SLOs. So know that this option is not limited to just induction teachers, but it can be offered to other teachers as appropriate with the duration of the course they teach. For example, high school teachers who teach courses by semester can ideally have an SLO in the second semester. Lastly, you can provide your own SLO. So we have made minor changes to the ADEPT plan with the lens of streamlining it and aligning it with what is required in regulations and guidelines. We believe that this ADEPT plan will enter steady state on SULEAD, and you'll be able to pull in what you have from previous years. So if you look at the screen, section 2 in monitoring SLOs, we have made some changes on that. The description has been removed for that one. Actually, that was often missed in the past, so you do not have to add an extra description for that. Section 5, with regards the timeline wherein you're indicating specific number of evaluators, it will show you a different way where you enter all those numbers for safety, SETS, and special area. In section 8, there's a table where you can clearly enter the charter school that is in your district but not participating in your ADEPT process, as well as a table for CATE centers and residential treatment facilities participating in the ADEPT process. For section 9, note that there are new questions to respond to under continuous improvement. So some sections of the district expanded ADEPT implementation plan template you want to pay close attention to are these sections. These are often missed. So section 4 for induction and mentoring, which Dr. Howard will explain in detail later on this webinar, you will be asked for that description portion. Sections 4 and 5, there will be specific questions regarding the number of people qualified to take on certain roles. So some in the past have answered all, so please do not write all, but instead write the actual numbers. In section 9, again, these questions must be addressed for the plan to be considered complete. Now I'll pass this webinar on to Dr. Hartwell.
Thank you, Faye. Welcome, everybody. The team will now, Faye, can you show me where I'm looking right here? The team will now review each section of the ADEPT plan with you. So, on your screen, you should see page 1, cover sheet, and contact. We will point out the new items that Faye just talked about as we go through the presentation, so make sure you capture your questions in the chat box as we go through the template. So, on the cover sheet, at the top of the page, you will see a reminder to attach your school's 2019-2020 district school calendar in SC Lead. Once in SC Lead, you'll see the option for attachments, and you'll attach your calendar there. The rest of the cover page is pretty straightforward, but I want to highlight a new section at the bottom of that chart. If anyone at the district level has ADEPT admin rights outside of the person who's submitting the plan, please enter their name, phone number, and email addresses. Now, this doesn't refer to the principals or assistant principals that have school level ADEPT rights, but this is referring to people at the district level who have district level ADEPT administrative rights beyond the person who's submitting the actual plan. So as always, make sure you keep your eye on the deadline, and you'll see it here, to enter your plan in SC Lead. You're not emailing it to us, you're entering it in SC Lead, and make sure all plans are in the system by June 1st, 2019. So if you have a question about the cover sheet, go ahead and enter it in the chat box. All right, let's turn to page 2 of the plan, which is section 1. In section 1, part A, and you see it on your screen here, districts will indicate the evaluation process for each educator type. So I'm going to start with the chart in section A. Row 1. Here you will select either SCTS 4.0 or a locally developed model for classroom-based teachers. So whatever your evaluation model is, between those two, make sure you make one selection for row 1. In the chart, in section A, for rows 2, 3, and 4, you will select either the 2006 ADEPT evaluation model or a locally developed model option for special area educators. This is on rows 2, 3, and 4 of the chart in section A. We tried to make this as straightforward as possible by darkening the areas that don't apply. So remember to select one model for each educator type. Let's move down to the second chart in section B. I'm sorry, still in section number 1, part B. The district here in the second chart on this page, the district will indicate the scoring approach that will be used for each contract level. That should look familiar to you. If you notice, there is a note under the chart with a star beside it. The stars inside the chart indicate contract levels that require a minimum of one person on the evaluation team. In the chart, that's rows 1 and row 3, the induction row and the continuing formative comprehensive row. If your district chooses the consensus approach for either of these contract levels with the star beside them, you'll be expected, even with one person on the team, to enter scores on the consensus meeting post-conference form if you're using SC Lead. In this particular chart, under Part B, Section 1, there's no right or wrong selection. This is a district decision. But remember that you can select different scoring approaches for contract levels, so make sure you think through your options wisely here. You have a year of experience for those of you who've been using SC Lead under your belt, so Make sure you make decisions that are appropriate for your district. Let's look at rows 2 and 4. Those are the rows for annual and continuing formative. It's a little more straightforward for them. There are 2 members on the team at a minimum anyway, and a consensus meeting would have to be convened to reach consensus on the scores at the end of the semester, so your choice is a little more straightforward for those contract levels. If you have questions for Section 1, Part B, the second chart, go ahead and enter them now in the chat box. Let's move to Part 1, Section C. The chart in Section C is new to the ADEPT plan. We've added this section for information and tracking uses. We've had several districts throughout the year requesting data on which features are being used across the state. So we're collecting this data here so that we'll be able to answer those questions as they come in throughout the year. This section asks you to report which SC Lead feature will be required for evaluators and teachers to use in your district. So for each of these rows, you will indicate either yes or no. Let's start with row 1, orientation. Will your teachers be required to sign the orientation form in SC Lead? Remember that if you're using any component of SC Lead, orientation is a necessary step. So remember that when you're choosing, but you will be answering yes or no. Row 2, student learning objective. Will your teachers use the optional SLO feature in SC Lead? Sorry. Yes or no. Row 3, professional goals. If applicable, will your evaluators use the optional professional goals GBE feature? Yes or no. Row 4, evaluator scripting. Will your teachers use the optional scripting feature that stores evaluator lesson scripts? Yes or no. Row 5, evaluator scoring. That's for observations and professionalism. Will your evaluators use the system to store observation and professionalism ratings and teacher evaluators signatures, areas of reinforcement or refinement? If you're using the system to store that, answer yes or no. And finally, row 6. Will your district ADEPT administrators, will you rather, use the optional import feature at the end of the year and for induction count reporting? Yes or no. Remember again, there are no right or wrong answers here. The primary question is, will you use the system to store evaluation data and guide personnel through the process? If you will, what features are you going to use? Remember to select only one option for each SC Lead feature. That means one option per row. In section D, which is you see displayed right up under the chart, it also contains assurances for districts that opt to use a locally developed evaluation model. As a reminder, districts should ensure that if they're using a locally developed model, that it meets all the current requirements of the ADEPT statute, regulations, and guidelines, that it contains a reporting format consistent with the state's formal evaluation models, that it's approved by your regional ADEPT contact here in the office, and that it's approved prior to implementation. If you're one of those districts that wish to propose an alternatively aligned system, you need to contact your regional ADEPT as you're working through that process, getting the ADEPT plan ready. Let us know. If you have any questions about Part 1, Section C, go ahead and enter your questions in the chat box. I'm now going to pass it to my colleague, Rodney, while you're entering your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hartwell. Good afternoon, South Carolina educators. Moving right along, Section 2, Student Learning Objectives, also known as SLOs. In Section 2, please ensure that you indicate how your district will carry out the SLO process by checking the appropriate box. Your district should check the first box if using the state-provided SLO scoring rubric, or you can check the second box if using a district-created SLO scoring rubric. If using a district-created SLO scoring rubric, please include as an attachment with your submission of your district's expanded ADEPT plan. If you have any questions about SLOs, please enter those into the chat box now. Moving along, Section 3, District Choice Measures. Section 3 of the template should only be completed by districts using a district choice measure. Districts may consider incorporating useful sources of data outside of the state model to inform a teacher's professional growth. Test score-based measures are no longer required as a part of the state model for evaluating teachers. However, if the district elects to incorporate classroom-level data, it should be indicated in the table. Finally, district choice measures may count up to 30% of the overall evaluation. Next up is induction and mentoring with Dr. Kim Howard.
Good afternoon, everybody. So the next section of the plan focuses on the district's program for induction teachers. As in previous years, districts will report the current number of trained mentors in the district, as well as provide information regarding training dates for new mentors. This section also requires you to provide a description of your district's induction and mentoring plan. When providing this information, please ensure that you address each of the 4 elements identified to include the purpose and scope of mentoring, procedures for assigning mentors, plans for supporting mentors, and their system for collecting feedback on the program. By checking the appropriate box, indicate whether first-year teachers will complete full interval SLOs, shortened versions to begin in the second semester, or whether schools will choose between the two. So the next portion of the induction and mentoring plan requires you to describe how your district will support teachers at each level of induction. If your district intends to have induction 2 and/or induction 3 teachers, you'll indicate that here. When detailing your program for induction 1 teachers, include a description of when you meet and what topics you'll address. Also, keep in mind that the induction and mentoring guidelines require that beginning of the year discussions address specific areas, as seen on this slide. When describing your plans for induction 2 and induction 3, remember that they should be tailored to those teachers and should not mimic the year 1 program. If you have any questions about the induction and mentoring section of the plan, please type those questions in the chat box. In the next few slides, we'll take a look at the tables where you'll input important dates. So Section 5 of the template collects timeline information regarding evaluation. Your district will provide deadlines by which each listed item should occur. It also asks that you identify the number of certified evaluators in the district. This information is useful in letting us know what your district's needs are. A report of certified evaluators can be pulled in sclead.org or in the ADEPT portal. So the next couple pages continue to collect information regarding deadlines as they relate to educator evaluation. When inputting dates here, remember that the preliminary and final evaluation cycle must consist of at least 45 student attendance days. It's a good idea when planning your evaluation calendar to build in days for inclement weather. Also, keep in mind that all SLO conferences must occur by April 30th. Be sure to include a copy of your 2019-2020 school year calendar along with your plan, as Dr. Hartwell mentioned earlier. If any changes need to be made to your evaluation timeline after your plan has been approved, please contact your OEELD liaison for approval and to make those changes. So at this time, I'm going to pass it to Beverly, who's going to talk to us about the next section of our plan.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you look at the next slide, Section 6 of the plan is the annual diagnostic assistance. It remains the same as it has in previous years. Here you will indicate if your district chooses to use the ADEPT guidelines or a district alternative for providing diagnostic assistance. Districts may also choose not to offer diagnostic assistance. In Section 7, we address the goals-based evaluation, or GBE. This includes information about the educator's plans for improvement. As in previous years, districts should indicate if they will implement the state's GBE model or if they will choose to propose an alternative aligned model for annual and continuing contract teachers who are undergoing formative evaluation. Section 8 covers additional programs. Here you will list your charter schools that are not participating in the ADEPT process in the table in the middle of the page. Otherwise, you should indicate which charter schools in your district that are district sponsored are included in your evaluation model for the 2019-2020 school year. Please be sure that all district sponsored charter schools are included in the plan. If your district has a CTE center, a career and technology center, or a residential treatment facility, please indicate the type of participation where applicable in this section of the plan. The questions in Section 9 are similar to last year's questions. Continuous improvement is reported to the State Board of Education annually by our office. Therefore, your responses to these questions are valuable and are heard by those who make decisions regarding district educational reporting to our state. Appendix A includes state-recognized uses of ADEPT summative evaluation results and the district requirements for summative evaluations. Please be sure you read through the information on highly consequential evaluations. Numbers 1 and 4 are vital information of note. At the bottom of page 15 in the template, you will see Appendix B, Resources. These are 3 hyperlinks to important ADEPT performance standards, guidelines, and other important forms and induction contract statute information. The Office of Educator Effectiveness is always in the process of publishing new website resources and updates at our State Department of Education website. Check back here frequently for the latest information from our OEELD team. And now I will hand it back to Dr. Hartwell to discuss sanctions.
Okay, this is just a brief reminder slide, kind of at the end of the presentation. The slide contains a few reminders regarding the upcoming sanctions process. The deadline to enter evaluation data for anybody on a annual summative contract, really for anybody, specifically those who are highly consequential, is, of course, we know May 30th. Here are just a few reminders of the parameters for highly consequential. You'll see the check marks there. 3 people on the team, completed observations from each team member along with teacher signature, and the consensus meeting completed and signed if you're using the consensus scoring method. You're going to receive an email from me in a few weeks before this deadline, or in a few weeks before the deadline, asking you to submit the information you see here listed as numbers 1 through 6. I can pull the indicator level scores for 1819, but the other information noted here will be used to confirm my list and assist me in cross-checking the data. So again, this is just a reminder to kind of keep this in the back of your head if you have any educators who might be up for discussion when we start the sanctions process. Okay, any questions on that? If not, or while you're typing, we're gonna turn it over to my colleague, Ray.
Thank you, Dr. Hartwell. So we just want to go ahead and share with you some of our summer 2019 training dates. You can see the dates on your screen. We'd like you to be on the lookout between now and May 1st for the complete list of trainings that we will be offering for 2019-2020. We will have detailed information on registration and locations for all the 2019-2020 trainings before May 2019. Please note that based on participants' feedback and collaboration with our training partners at NIET, our Train the Trainer training is a newly revised training that will only be for evaluator trained and or certified evaluator participants. We are excited also to share with you our newly designed SLO trainings to address your needs based on the feedback that you gave us. All right, I'll leave this slide for a few moments, then move on with our Q&A. All right, the floor is now open for your questions and our responses.
While you're typing, we would like to share one of the most recent and kind of interesting asked questions from one of our partner districts. We recently had a district encounter the following situation. Educator Sally moved from ABC Elementary to DFG Primary in January. DFG Primary cannot finish the evaluation record because it states preliminary consensus is needed. Sally's was completed by ABC Elementary. If we add Principal Dogcaller from DFG Primary to her evaluation team, he will have to sign her preliminary consensus, which he's uncomfortable doing since he was not involved. How can this situation best be handled? We have two options here. You can either close the evaluation due to special circumstances mid-year, which prevent the evaluation from being completed with fidelity by the team that she was assigned originally, or you can complete the evaluation outside of sclead.org and import Sally's results so as to bypass the need for signatures from the new evaluators. We know that changes occur mid-year, unfortunately, and this is two options for getting around it. We'll keep monitoring your questions.
So Beverly, we had one come up in the chat box. This is Lila from Lynn Liebenrud, which is when will the 2019-2020 template be ready? You've just seen it, so it's ready. It will be ready in SCLead in the next couple weeks. We had a data issue that we wanted our partners at Randa to run down, so it's on their list, but it's not quite ready. We will certainly email out to you when it is ready and open for you in SCLead, and we'll send out information later in the week to all ADEPT contacts with Word document copy of it, just so if you want to get started, you can. And we're really excited about the capability moving forward of having the ADEPT plan live in SC Lead, so that next year when you do it, if things are the same in your district, you can only change maybe the continuous improvement section or things that you actually decided to change versus having to bring the information over year. So we are trying to look for ways to make the ADEPT plan process streamlined for you. Question coming up, to inform the professional learning we offer, will we be able to access a summary report of results by South Carolina Teaching Standard Indicator and areas of refinement? Even better than that, you'll be able to access a summary of South Carolina Teaching Standards Indicator, period, for every evaluation and an average of all of the observations that you've done. In addition, we have a report we're so excited about that will tell you the status of observations for those undergoing observations or undergoing evaluations that have observations, so formative or summative evaluation types, that tells you whether every step in the process has been signed or not. So we feel like that's really valuable information as you close up the year. Those reports are right now in beta testing, and we're taking a look at them within our office, and they should be ready for you within the next week or so. So to answer Aaron's question about the indicator summary report, it will break down, it will have the information on contract level so that you can sort it and filter it to see what's needed by contract level. It will also be available at the school level, so your instructional leaders at the school level could divide it up even further with information we don't necessarily know, like who's on the same department team or who's on the same grade level team, if they wanted to use that indicator level data to help plan for PLCs or for other professional learning structures.
We're going to stick around and answer any further questions you have, but for the most part, we are done for today. As always, we are ready and willing to assist you should you need us. You should know who your district contact is, but just in case you don't, we can provide that. It's posted on our website. The list is here, as well as the leadership side folks. We don't shout them out very often, but they work here too. We appreciate your
I
time.
will say about them, Beverly, just
They're
because
awesome.
they are awesome, and today is the last day of the last cohort of PIP. We had 161 new principals in the state of South Carolina this year. That is more than 10% of our schools, so I'm really hoping that we keep the folks that we have, and we have a smaller number of new hires next year. But it's an impressive group, and I just can't say enough about the level of support I know that many of them are receiving from your teams back in your district. So thank you for that. We're really proud of these first-year principals and all the work they're doing.
And don't forget, do not let this ADEPT plan overwhelm you or frighten you in any way, especially if you're new to it. Believe me, as someone who has had to write one twice, it can be a little overwhelming for the new person. So please do not feel like you are asking a dumb question or like you are bothering your support person. We are happy to help. It is what we are here for. So please reach out to us if we can help you with the ADEPT plan at all. Holly, we can try to add the phone numbers on there, but it's a stretch to get everybody listed now that we're full in the office. But we can provide that. The numbers are on the website if you look at your person.
Yeah, or if you click on the Who's My ADEPT contact link, it has everyone's phone number on there, and it fits on one page, so that's a nice one just to have in your resources of folks who call.